7, 8 months from me being 18, I found myself in about $15,000 of credit card debt, $10,000 in furniture debt. And it was all because I was like, I really wanted to impress everyone around me.
You can admit, and I know I can today, that I was spending money I didn't have.
Yes, sir.
To impress people.
Yes, sir.
That didn't care.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And found myself in a situation that was hard for me to get out of.
I lost my job. I lost my apartment. So where does that send me? I went and put all my stuff in the back of my car, went to a Walmart parking lot, and I slept there for about 6 weeks of my life.
I believe in a God that can deliver you from lack. I believe in a God that can deliver from insufficiency, and I believe in a God that can deliver from debt. Welcome. Hello, I'm Creflo and welcome to your world. You know, many people are basically just one blown tire away from financial disaster. Now, can you relate? If you're living paycheck to paycheck with a mountain of debt, you're definitely not alone. A recent study shows that 8 out of every 10 Americans are in serious debt, upside down on their mortgage and far behind on their car payments. Or perhaps you're in such a tight squeeze that one little thing goes wrong, man, like losing your job or getting sick, you might find yourself in a situation of debt and trying to figure out how in the world am I going to get out of this? Listen, that's not God's best for anyone. Today, we're going to break this vicious cycle of being broke and never having enough to make ends meet. So call a friend, call a loved one, and tell them to tune in. This is a show you absolutely don't want to miss. Getting out of debt, next on Your World.
Changing one life, time after time. Oh Lord, we do it all for you.
Through the trials I see, I'll always believe a new life starts with me. Oh,
Change your world today. Change is gonna come your way. Change and get an understanding. His grace will transform you.
Welcome back. I'd like you to meet Leesa, who knows all too well the pressures of financial debt. Leesa is a single mother, working 3 jobs, living paycheck to paycheck, and has amassed $30,000 of debt with no hope of relief. Now, you may be in a similar situation today. So together, we're going to talk through her options and yours to get out of this situation and build a future for her and her family. Leesa, welcome to Your World. So glad to have you here with us today. I grew up in the ghetto of College Park in a 2-bedroom, I don't even know what you call that house, made out of cement blocks. And I absolutely had no idea that there was any way to get out of that situation and later on learn how to do that. So this is going to be an awesome time today. Let's start off with this question. When you were growing up, do you recall your knowledge of how to handle money? Did you have the knowledge of how to handle budgets and so forth when you were growing up, somebody teaching you? How was that when you were growing up?
No, I've been working since 13 years old, working but not knowing how to save or to budget, just to, get what I need.
Yeah. What type of jobs did you have throughout the
I started off working retail, restaurant, like Wendy's and clothing stores.
And if I understand correctly, even today you have 3 different types of jobs,
Yes.
right?
I'm an assistant teacher in 3rd grade autism. I drive Uber when I can, and I'm a natural hairstylist. I do locks.
Wow. And so you've never had a problem getting jobs, or so you've always been able to get jobs?
Yes.
So the real issue was how to manage your money.
Right.
So in your life, what are the consequences of not having those instructions?
working just to pay bills, basically.
And that's no fun, is it?
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Especially not as hard as I work now.
Yeah. And so you have a 4-year-old son?
Yes, a 4-year-old son.
And I'm sure working as much as you do, I mean, if you're not at school, you're driving Uber. If you're not driving Uber, then you're
here. He's
working.
with me.
Yeah. And so I just don't believe, as a Christian, I just don't believe that's abundant life. I don't believe that's God's intent. And I don't believe that's the will of the Father for us to have to do that.
No.
So with your 4-year-old son, I'm sure there are times where you get frustrated because the time that you don't have and even the finances.
All the time.
Can you talk to us about that? How this has affected your relationship with your son?
It frustrates me because it's something as simple as putting him in football or basketball is unrealistic right now because of money that goes towards bills and time. Like by the time I go to work or do hair or Uber, I'm tired. So I don't have enough time for my son.
And does that create the guilt and sometimes the shame?
It does,
Yeah.
a lot of time, because if I don't have him, he has to go to his grandmother or his godmother, and I often send him with them so he can have somewhat of a childhood.
And how does that make you feel as a
It's
parent?
very frustrating. It's very frustrating.
What's your living situation like right now?
Well, I just had to move recently. In July, I came home from vacation, and my roommate gave me a 30-day notice. So the last month and a half has been rough, but I found another roommate. But I hope soon that I will be able to have my own place so he can have his own room. He's never had his own room. He still sleeps in the bed with me.
So you couldn't go and apply for another apartment
No,
now?
because I have the credit on my dad,
Oh,
about $8,000.
yeah. So the credit's got to be cleared up first
Yep.
before you can even get an apartment.
If I decided to move to an apartment that I could get, it would be in a neighborhood that I don't want to raise my son. So it's possible for me to get an apartment, but those areas is not a good environment.
Yeah. The emotional stress and frustration that you carry, would it be safe to say every day?
Yeah.
And you have some good days where you can smile, but you have to return right back to dealing with the issue of not enough,
Yes.
lacking financially. What am I going to do next? And the reason why I'm asking you these series of questions is because I've spent, nearly 30 years trying to convince people that it is not God's will for us to have to live in lack and live without. And in church, healing, and that's great, and deliverance, and that's great. But I believe in a God that can deliver you from lack. I believe in a God that can deliver from insufficiency, and I believe in a God that can deliver from debt. And so as we talk about this a little bit more, what's your plan? Do you have a plan?
I had a plan, but since the 30-day notice came, I had to scramble to figure out, I had to place it on hold, basically.
Yeah. Audience, can anybody relate with her story? I think, would it be safe to say that everybody can relate to her story? And yet, as parents, I think we've got to take it more serious when it comes to educating our children in the area of dealing with finances, because you don't want your child to be out there suffering, full of stress, depression, all those kind of things that are open because they just don't know how to deal with finances. So I want to share, I've got a guest that's going to come and join us today, but I want to share some things. I like talking about the common sense realm of money management. And this is something that I teach my girls. I told each of my girls, I told my sons the same thing, but I told each of my girls specifically. I said, when you decide to get your place and get your own stuff and car and so forth, you don't want to try to make your living off of 100% of what you earn. You want to live based on 80% of what you earn. So, if I have $100, I'm not going to live off $100. I'm going to live off $80. And then I'm going to take the next $10. I'm going to honor God with it. and then I'm gonna take the next 10, watch this, and I'm gonna pay myself. People are always talking about, you know, I can't afford to save. I can't afford to pay myself. That's because they've made their living based on 100% of what they've earned. Now think about what I'm saying.
That makes sense.
If you can make your living based on 80%, so you're going out looking for a place, you know, you're looking for a car, you're looking for all of these things, you got to buy groceries, you've got to buy gas. In other words, now that the need for the budget comes in, and the budget is not just the gas and the electric bill and the car, the budget is every expenditure that I'm going to be releasing in order to make my life or my living, that I'm going to include on that. And then I'm going to look and see where I can save and cut from that budget. But if that comes up to 100% of my income, I've got to make some changes until I can get it down to 80% of my income. And that's when you begin to think about, okay, so I can't live over there. They're really, really bad. But maybe I can live over here. Can't do that car, but maybe I can work out a deal to do that car because the payments are going to be less, and that falls within the 80% of what I'm going to be putting out to make that happen. I think what people fail to realize is that if you can learn how to pay yourself, and you look up one day, you've got money that you didn't know was there. Now, I did something called automatic payment. So what I would do, so I wouldn't see it, is I would take my check, stick it in a situation, 80% of it would go out. That's what I pay my bills and live off of. I'd take 10% automatically deposited into that savings account, and then I'd have the other 10% ready to write my check and to honor God with it. I looked up one day and I had enough money saved to do things that I didn't know. But I encourage people, if you can only pay yourself $2, pay yourself something, because that's the opportunity to use that to finance dreams. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah. You're not always going to be in the situation you're in, but you've got to start with a strategy. And even Satan has a strategy to try to destroy us. So we need strategy to come out of our situation. And every day you wake up, you say, this is one day less that I'm going to have to live in this situation.
Yeah.
You start countdown, you know? It's
Yes.
one day less that I'm living in this situation. Hey, look, we want to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to have a pretty amazing guest that will not only share with us his testimony of all the things he had to go through, he's going to provide some help for Lakeisha today, and we're going to see what the end is going to be. We'll be right back.
Your generosity allows us to make a difference in the lives of people all over the world. Through Creflo Dollar Global Missions, we are providing food, clothing, crucial supplies, and the Word of God to people in the most remote regions of the world. Because of you, Creflo Dollar Ministries is providing a new understanding of grace and empowering change in the lives of millions of people every day. For more information, visit us online at creflodollarministries.org.
Welcome back. Now, how many of you watching and how many of you in the audience have that burden of debt on your shoulders? So it's not uncommon, right? It's something that a lot of people around the world carry on their shoulders. Now, my next guest found himself nearly $20,000 in debt and had ended up homeless and sleeping in his car in a parking lot. We're about to find out what he did to get out of his situation and how he has managed to stay out of debt. Please help me welcome to the show, Anthony O'Neill. Anthony, welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for being here with us today. I really want Lakeisha and our audience and those who are watching today to really know where you were.
Yes, sir.
Before we talk about what you do today and hear from you. Tell us about that journey into debt and that journey out, and then all of the things that happen as a result of it.
You know, when I was listening to Lakeisha's story, I'm like, Lakeisha, your story is so touching to me, because really, I found myself graduating high school, great parents, but they really didn't teach me how and really about finances. I was in church Monday through Sunday, every single day. And I didn't really understand the importance of finance. So I remember walking on the college campus the very first day, I see nothing but beautiful ladies. So I'm getting excited. I'm like, hey, it's a lot of y'all. I need a lot of money. And I applied for my first credit card, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just told, like, hey, just get a credit card. So I was like, cool. So I got the credit card about a month later, and my mother called me. I have a true mother. She said, baby, you got some mail, come on home. So I go home, she hands me the envelope, Dr. Dollar, and the envelope was open. And she's asking me, well, what is it? And I'm like, you already know what it is, Mom. But to make a long story short, the credit card, it was a credit card. It was my first credit card that I've ever received. So I'm like, yes, I'm going in. But my mother was like, son, you don't need that credit card. So I politely, at least I thought I politely, reminded my mother that I'm a grown man and to mind your business. So since we're on your show, I won't say what happened after I told her that.
I already know. I already know.
But as I got up off the ground, I went in my car and I called my young lady at the time and I said, baby girl, I got some money. And she said, well, how much you got? I said, it's none of your business. I said, but where you want to go to dinner? And so she said, I want to go to Red Lobster. So I took her to Red Lobster. So within a matter of me within 1 hour of having that credit card, I spent $150 at Red Lobster.
Wow.
And so y'all know back in the days, Red Lobster was like going to Ruth Chris Steakhouse today. You wanted to be there. And so I said, okay, cool. So the next day I wanted to send her some flowers. So I sent her 2 dozens of red roses, 2 boxes of chocolate. Now I was gonna send her another one, but I'm already black. So that's all she needed. I was the 3rd one. And
check him out, guys.
And so, that was one thing that led to another. That's another $150. And so then my friends were sitting next to me when I sent her the flowers, and it was like, you really want to impress her? I was like, psh, yeah, doc. It was like, go get her a purse. I was like, bet, I'll go to Walmart, get her like a $5.99 purse. And they was like, no, doc. You really want to put impression on her, go to Dillard's and buy her this DB purse, Dune & Burks. I was like, Dune & Burks. So I get over to Dillard's, that's $200. Within a matter of 18 hours of having a card, I've already spent $500 on the credit card. My credit card balance, Dr. Dollar, is $500, maxed out.
Wow.
So I paid the little $5, the little $10 payment. So I'm like, man, this is easy. $10 for $500, boom. And I got a credit card statement in the mail the next month and said, hey, thank you for your payment on time. We see you can use another $500. And so we've upped your balance from $500 to $1,000. I was like a little kid in the candy store. I got excited. I went and put a $500 sound system in the back of a black-on-black 1987 Nissan Maxima, and the car couldn't even go into reverse.
Wow.
So I'm sitting here sounding good moving forward, but not looking good when I have to go in reverse.
Yeah, that's good. Did you get that? yeah, that's good.
And so, that was $1,000. Before I even turned, within like 7-8 months of me being 18, I found myself in about $15,000 of credit card debt, $10,000 in furniture debt. And it was all because I was like, I really wanted to impress everyone around me. I wanted to have the feeling on the inside that, hey, if I'm doing this for her, if I'm sounding like this, if I'm looking like this, if I have on the latest Jordans, if I have on this, everyone would accept me. So I really went out there and just put everything that I could on credit and finance it.
So you can admit, and I know I can today, that I was spending money I didn't have.
Yes, sir.
To impress people.
Yes, sir.
That didn't care.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And found myself in a situation
Yeah.
that was hard for me to get out of.
Yes, sir. Very hard for me to get out of.
Yeah.
It got so hard for me to get out of because I got kicked out of school. When I got kicked out of school, I lost a job that was connected to my school. So when I lost my job, I lost my apartment. So where does that send me? I'm going home. And I'm pretty sure as a father, you would say the same thing. I went home, mother said, come home. But father was like, no. He just told us he's a grown man. And a grown man is gonna learn to handle his own responsibilities. He's not coming home. So my father said no. I had to leave. I went and put all my stuff in the back of my car, went to a Walmart parking lot, and I slept there for about 6 weeks of my life. And that's when everything went rock bottom for me.
Wow. So what was the turning point? And I imagine it hit pretty hard.
Hard.
I mean, you wake up in the car, you're washing in the car.
Yeah, yeah.
How did you turn it around?
I had to really look at myself in the mirror and be comfortable with myself. That's when things shifted for me. I realized that I am in this place because of me. What shifted for me was my father knew where I was the entire time. So not only was I at my lowest, but I was also naked in my car washing myself. So God took me to my lowest and stripped me of everything. And for me, that was spiritual. God was saying, I'm gonna strip you of everything so you can really get to know you and see you and move forward. And so what I did to really get out of debt, because today I'm 32 years old and I owe no man nothing, completely nothing. And what started that, and I hear your story, and what I had to really do is I had to go home and I had to sit down and write a vision for my life. Where am I going? And then I had to make sure that everything that I'm doing is congruent with that vision. So that's my budget, that's my spending, that's everything. So if it's not congruent with where my vision is, where God has taken me, I'm not going for it. And so I've had to learn to say no to myself today so that tomorrow I can have the greatest feeling. And I hear young people say, I want the latest and the greatest. Well, I have this new statement that I say, I'm going to sacrifice the latest today so that tomorrow I can have the greatest.
Absolutely.
And because that's huge to me. That's really what happened to me. I had to really make sure I had a vision, and everything has to be in line with that vision of where I'm going. So I'm very big on budgeting.
That's good.
I'm very big on budgeting. As I travel the country today, millennials are like, what is budgeting? And that is one thing that I would suggest to every millennial. Spend your money on paper with a purpose. And so I budget every single day. I'll look at my budget before I look at my bank account, because my budget is going to tell me what I can spend. My bank account is going to tell me the money of where it's going. I'm telling my money where it's going. My money's not telling me where it's going.
You've got this commitment
Yeah.
to millennials.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about what you're doing and some of the encounters that you've had. Just really, what are you dealing with today? We heard, you told us that your family never taught you anything about finances.
No.
And would that be true with most millennials?
Absolutely. I think it's very true, and it's very common that we're not really teaching not just millennials, but high school students. I have a huge heart for high school students. Currently, I'm serving on the speakers team and personality team for Dave Ramsey. And so I literally, every single week, I'm traveling around the country in some college, in some high school, at a youth conference, or preaching on Sunday mornings for churches, really helping them teach young people about money. And the reason being is because before I joined the team, I served as an associate pastor in Jacksonville, Florida, at a mega church out there. Grew it from 25 to 2,000 students. And here's the thing, we just didn't focus just on godly principles. We also focused on money principles. And so I taught young people what is the difference between a credit card and a debit card, how to save, how to invest, which is so important that I believe every youth pastor needs to be doing, because they're not getting it in school as they should. And some of them are not getting it at home. And so that is my heart. So just recently, I just did our first middle school curriculum. I have a middle school curriculum that's out with me, Rachel, and Dave, and about 1 out of every 3 middle schools have the curriculum now. So I'm excited because we're starting to see the schools are getting into it, but we got to do so much more. We got to do so much more.
You know, we're shocked that the public schools don't seem to be offering courses on personal finances.
Yeah.
And what a need to have, and even the curriculum that
Yes, sir.
you were speaking of, it would be awesome to be able to see that
It will be.
in school. I mean, you work, of course, in education, and so you understand the necessity from your own testimony and from, you know, you've got a 4-year-old son.
4-year-old
you want
son.
him to be able to
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
So we're going to come back next week with Anthony and Lakeisha and really get under the hood of Lakeisha's financial situation. Anthony's going to walk her through some concrete steps that she can start taking now to finally start seeing financial freedom. If you or anyone you know is going through some financial trouble, they're having or living in debt, going from paycheck to paycheck, then next week's continuation, you don't want to miss it.
Yeah.
Now, meanwhile, if you're feeling broke, busted, and disgusted, man, I'm telling you right now, it's time to get your whole life under control, man, and get your finances and everything where they need to be. God has brought you to this point today so that you can be free and live an abundant life. I put some powerful tools together that I want you to get and listen very closely to, because, you know, where I take you step by step on how to get the life you want is going to be so very vital to what you can see in your future. So take advantage of these resources. My announcer will tell you how, and we'll be right back.
If you're overwhelmed and stressed from being behind on your car payment, your rent or mortgage, or feeling the pain of credit card bills coming in faster than you can pay them, know that this is not the life God intended for you to have. If you are in this situation, then know you may be one big doctor's bill, one missed paycheck, or one flat tire away from financial disaster. If you're broke, busted, and finally disgusted, then Creflo Dollar wants to help. You don't have to struggle one more day. Dr. Dollar has put together some essential tools you can use right now to live a truly stress-free life. Call or go online now to get this must-have book, The Holy Spirit, Your Financial Advisor. Inside, Dr. Dollar will take you step by step through what the Bible tells us on how to make and keep your money working for you. You'll discover how to change a poverty mindset, how to access supernatural power to manage your finances, and how to tap into the wisdom of real-life prosperity. As an added bonus, you'll also receive the full uncut interview of today's show with Anthony and Leesa. You only saw a small portion of their in-depth discussion, but now get the complete valuable wisdom on how to help you get out of debt and put you back on track for true success. You'll get all this for your donation of only $40. Imagine the wonderful life you will live when you start receiving financial advice straight from the Holy Spirit. Pick up the phone now and call or go online to get this complete bundle. That's Dr. Dollar's book, The Holy Spirit, Your Financial Advisor, plus, as an added bonus, the full-length DVD of today's interview. When you sow this seed into Creflo Dollar Ministries, know that you are becoming part of the movement of believers who are taking God's message of grace to those who need it most around the world. That's what your donation of $40 will do. Call or go online now. You can't afford to go another day without walking in the financial freedom God has in store for you.
Next on part 2 of Your World. If you had to choose which area you would like to get more information on, which area would it be?
Practical and spiritual.
So you got the money guy right here. Ask him some questions. What would you like to ask him?
Where do I start?
You know,
As far as the necessary steps to get the debt under control, wiped away.
I'm gonna give you the practical side because that's the money. That is the guru for the spiritual side. But the practical side, there are baby steps that I'm very big on. And the first one is,
Thank you, partners and friends. Your love and financial support makes it possible to bring this message into billions of homes.